Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Tractor begins in 90 seconds.
More white powder found in Washington. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. And testing is continuing on a suspicious find at the International Monetary Fund's Washington headquarters. A letter said to contain white powder was found at the group's offices earlier this evening. The IMF was the focus of protests over the weekend. The tests are being run at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center. New Jersey Republicans are going to court tomorrow, arguing that Robert Torricelli missed the deadline to drop out as the Democratic Party's Senate candidate. Behind in the polls and facing ethics problems, Torricelli ended his re-election bid today, just 5 weeks prior to the election. The legal deadline for a candidate to withdraw in New Jersey is September 16th. Zacharias Moussaoui's day in court is on hold until next spring. The accused 9/11 conspirators trial now pushed back for another year until June 30th, 2003. The judge says the delay is necessary to let him prepare a proper defense. Moussaoui plans to defend himself. The death toll in the tragic African ferry accident continues to rise. With nearly 1,000 dead, it now appears hundreds more are unaccounted for. Authorities continue to drag bodies ashore as families line up to try and find the remains of their loved ones. Our next update's coming up at the bottom of the hour. The O'Reilly Factor is next right here on the most powerful name in news. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. Not always, but many times, the truth does come out. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. You may remember our report a few weeks ago about the daughters of Pat Rausch, American citizens that have been held by their father in Saudi Arabia for almost 2 decades. By putting pressure on the kingdom, we were able to interview the women in London, along with the Associated Press. The women also were interviewed by a U.S. State Department official alone. Our assessment of the story was that the women were brainwashed, and this was based on their favorable comments about Osama bin Laden. Well, the Wall Street Journal, among others, attacked us, accusing us of colluding with the Saudis, among other stupid things. Last night, 60 Minutes did another story on other American women being held in Saudi Arabia. Like us, they interviewed Congressman Dan Burton, who's deeply involved in trying to win freedom for the women. But while Mr. Burton's tone was skeptical of the brainwashing assessment with us, it had changed a little bit last night. We wanted to show the American people that even given the chance to come to America, given that they're not going to take it because they are brainwashed.
Well, now, I think that may be true and it may not be. Many of them, over a period of time, are either so terrified or so brainwashed that they don't know what to do.
That's exactly what we said. Talking Points once again stands behind our original story. The Rausch women, the evidence shows, are brainwashed and not likely to ever leave Saudi Arabia. And some of the other American women over there are probably in the same boat, especially if they were kidnapped as little girls, as the Rausch women were. Reality is harsh, and so is this story. We completely understand and sympathize with the heartbreak Mrs. Rausch is experiencing and regret that we had to bring her bad news. We were hoping her daughters would take advantage of the worldwide spotlight and at least express a desire to visit their mom. If that had happened, Saudi Arabia would have been in a very bad place. We would have put enormous pressure on them. But it didn't happen. And it is our duty to report the truth. We believe Congressman Burton now knows what's really going on, and we hope the Wall Street Journal, which we respect, will rethink its position. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight. Scandal-plagued Senator Robert Torricelli has rethought his position. He's quit his re-election campaign. This is a political move designed to give the Democrats a chance at retaining his Senate seat in New Jersey. And joining us now from Trenton, New Jersey, where Torricelli held his press conference, is Paul Mulshine, a columnist for the Newark Star-Ledger. Okay, Mr. Mulshine, you know, you're a savvy guy. You know the game in Jersey. Who's going to run? Because this is the most important Senate seat of November elections, because it could tilt, if it goes to the Republican, it could tilt Congress toward the Republicans.
Well, Bill, I think the Democrats are going to run Aldrich Ames because he's the only other person to ever give away CIA secrets and get away with it.
You're being facetious now. Is there a name floating around?
Now, I reported on the Torricelli principle, and you're the only one who picked that up. That was his major offense here, but they got him on this ethics stuff. Yeah, the names are Menendez, Cuban-American Democrat, right-wing on Cuba. We've got a couple minor, Pallone, who's a local congressman of not much note. They're floating Lautenberg and Bradley, trying to get them back in. And that's pretty much what you're hearing right now.
All right, so anything could happen. There's no lock, there's no deal. Anything could happen. It'll probably be the first guy you mentioned, Menendez. Now, you mentioned the Torricelli principle. We'll just tell people, in case they weren't watching or hadn't read your column, is that Senator Torricelli basically convinced President Clinton to sign an executive order which forbade the CIA to pay any informants who had human rights violations or felony convictions, and that gutted intelligence, and some say led up to 9/11. Now, Torricelli himself is a corrupt guy, right? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, he's extremely corrupt. The funny thing is he's the most power-mad guy you ever met, but he got caught more in looking for the trappings of power, money and so forth. You know, it's really, his thing was much more pure power, but they caught him on this cash and grandfather clocks and Rolexes and Italian suits and really minor Mickey Mouse stuff.
All right, but it wasn't minor if you look at it, Mr. Molshine. You got 42-inch TV set, stereo system, camera equipment, Persian rug, grandfather clock worth $4,000, $22,000 in unexplained cash expenses, diamond earrings for his girlfriend, expensive watch for his ex-wife, and on and on and on. And he denied taking anything. And he did. He did take the stuff, did he not?
Oh, it was amazing. He had a story for everything. He had one little story. Every single one he could have this, like, fringe excuse for. And he basically had one of those for everything, but there were 20 different things. You can't have 20, you know, extreme excuses, and that was his problem.
Well, I read one of your columns where you actually traced the grandfather clock back and found out that he did indeed take it, right?
I went just up the street here, up the river a bit, and I went to the antique shop, and the guy told me Torricelli and Chang came in. Torricelli handed him $3,816 in cash. He delivered the clock to Torricelli.
And Torricelli denied it.
That was that.
Yeah. Now, I mean, there's no doubt that Torricelli took the stuff. He was on a take. He was on a take, and for people who don't know, he did Chang, who is now in jail, favors by trying to get him an insurance contract with the government of South Korea. In a very high-level meeting, they embarrassed the United States. Why, in your opinion, Mr. Molshine, did the Senate give Torricelli a pass when this is out-and-out bribery?
Because Torricelli is very good at making deals, inside deals, and that was his specialty in politics. He could make deals with anybody, and I think he made deals with, you know, the prosecution. He made deals inside the Senate. He should have stayed in the House because he was in a safe district, and he could have eventually made deals to become Speaker of the House and never been challenged, but he got in above his head. I mean, when it comes to really trying to convince the people that you didn't, you know, that you paid cash for this clock, that it was your cash, people
they wouldn't buy it. Sure, the folks wouldn't buy it.
Right.
But what does it say about our system when the prosecutors knew he took a bribe and the Senate Ethics Committee knew he took a bribe, but they wouldn't do anything against him?
Well, I think it says a lot about the prosecutor Mary Jo White, who didn't prosecute this case. She's back in private practice, and prosecutors don't like to risk a big prosecution that they might lose, but they shouldn't be worried about their careers. They should go after the prosecution, and then and see how let the chips fall where they may. This should have gone to a jury.
Absolutely, no question about it. Now, last question: who put the arm on Torricelli? He didn't want to quit. Who made him quit? Do you know?
Every Democrat from Trenton to Washington, D.C.
All right, so they all got together.
He was the only one, yeah.
But, you know, they're going to lose the seat anyway. Nobody's going to beat Forrester at this late date. They're going to lose.
One would think so. There are rumors that even more bad stuff was going to come out on him, and he was really, really screwed. So maybe they can watch the coattails on this.
Any inkling about that bad stuff? We heard that, too. We don't know what it is. Any inkling on it?
Just more of these classic North Jersey Sopranos types bribes. You know, usual.
The garden variety
kind
for
of
the
stuff.
garden
Yeah,
state.
you know.
Well, at least the good people
stuff,
in New Jersey knew that they weren't going to re-elect a man of that caliber. Mr. Molshine, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next on the rundown, the poet laureate of New Jersey writes a verse that says Jews were responsible for 9/11. What say you, Governor McGreevey? Not a good day for him. In a moment.
Talking Points is brought to you by GM, the car company in overdrive.
Introducing the world's first truck with four-wheel steering. The new GMC Sierra Denali with 325 horsepower and quadra-steer. Beats everybody, forwards and backwards. On September 11th, terrorists tried
tried to change America forever. Well, they succeeded.
What can bagpipes teach us about raising capital? It's as much art as it is technique. Few people know how to do it well. Wisdom is everywhere. Uncommon wisdom is knowing how to apply it. Wachovia Securities.
It has over 20 million customers nationwide. Works with nearly half the Fortune 1000 and provides wireless networks for BlackBerry and Palm. Bet you didn't know who's so big in business. Singular Wireless. What do you have to say?
The Impact segment tonight, black nationalist Leroy Jones changed his name to Amiri Baraka and was appointed poet laureate for the state of New Jersey despite a criminal record. Governor Jim McGreevey, a busy guy today, okayed that deal. But now Mr. Baraka has written a poem entitled Somebody Blew Up America. Listen to this portion of the poem. Who know why 5 Israelis was filming the explosion and cracking sides at the Notion? Who knew the World Trade Center was going to get bombed? Who told 4,000 Israeli workers at the Twin Towers to stay home that day? Why did Sharon stay away? Mr. Baraka seems to be accepting the idiotic propaganda that 9/11 was a Jewish plot. Governor McGreevey has now asked Baraka to resign his post. He is being paid $10,000 by the state of New Jersey, but Baraka says he will not quit. With us now is Professor Liam Rector, who teaches poetry at Bennington College. All right, nobody can make this guy quit by the state charter of New Jersey. He's in there. He's embarrassed himself, embarrassed the state of New Jersey. What say you, Professor?
Well, I think my perspective on it would be that I disagree with what you have said, but would defend unto the death your right to say it. I mean, what Baraka wrote was obviously near slander. It was idiotic. He probably picked it up off the internet. A friend of mine said that he heard about it in Ukraine last week. So he took it off the internet, apparently, and without context just repeated what was in fact a rumor. And the credibility of the poem, the credibility of the poet is almost completely eroded.
He's
in doing
finished.
that.
He's a joke now. But here's my problem, that the state of New Jersey should have a mechanism whereby they fire this guy because, you know, I mean, he could molest little children. What, are they going to keep him in the post? You know what I mean? You know, the Jewish people who live in New Jersey are absolutely appalled. Absolutely, you know, and now this guy's got to stay there for a year getting paid by the taxpayer. So some of their money goes into his pocket. And the worst thing about it, Professor, is that 500 Jewish people were killed in the World Trade Center.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you know, the answer to free speech is more free speech, in a way. Use this as an occasion for debate about anti-Semitism, about what the role of a poet laureate is. Or, you know, a poet laureate is a relatively new thing in the United States as a whole, the national poet laureate. There are just beginning to become a lot of good state poet laureates. And it's a good time to ask now, you know, do you have to toe the state line?
No, I don't think anybody would say that. But can you slander individuals? Can you incite riots as a poet laureate? Can you inflict hurtful on innocent taxpayers? No. This reflects badly on Governor McGreevey, who, by the way, wouldn't come on the program, wouldn't offer any comment. Is a total. All right, let's see, what word do I want to describe Governor McGreevey? Let's just say he is not a profile in courage, okay? This reflects very poorly on him because this man, all right, had a weapons conviction in the Newark riots, all right, violent man, a background full of anti-American hatred. full of racism, full of anti-Semitism, and yet he's appointed by a governor, a Democratic governor, to be the poet laureate. Where is the responsibility here to the taxpayers of New Jersey and the United States?
You would think, though, and someone in appointing Amiri Baraka, everyone who's literate almost knows that Baraka is a very controversial poet. So I mean, I was a student of his 25 years ago. There's a lot that I didn't agree with him about then. There's a lot that I don't agree with him about now. He's an extremely dogmatic fellow, but he has been important in the whole discussion of American literature. There is a serious and even credible side to Amiri Baraka that we're not seeing any hint of here.
But that's okay. I don't mind him at a university or publishing privately. He can say whatever he wants to say. I'm a big free speech guy.
Right.
But he's being paid for by the taxpayers. And in our pre-interview with you, you said that Ginsburg should have been a poet laureate. Right? You believe that?
I really do. I think he's a great American poet in the tradition of Walt Whitman, that high schools are named after Walt Whitman. They should be. That Allen Ginsberg was a great poet.
But Allen Ginsberg espoused men having sex with little boys.
That was the most dubious part.
Dubious?
Yeah.
That's outrageous. So, Professor, with all due respect, a man like you teaches at Columbia and Bennington, two of the finest colleges in the country, don't seem to be too upset about giving people like Allen Ginsberg and this Baraka, all right, positions where their stuff is disseminated, paid for by the taxpayer. Well, I mean, I would have hung this guy Ginsburg if I get my hands on him for all the damage he did to children, yet you would put him as a poet laureate in the public sector. That's insane.
I don't think so. I don't think, you know, the people are so politically correct on the left and on the right now. It's impossible to think of having any poet laureate or any citizen, actually, who wouldn't say something that would offend someone.
But it's all a matter of degree.
Yeah, but people aren't afraid of arguing these points. People aren't afraid of debating Allen Ginsberg on the age of consent.
You know?
You pay Baraka $10,000.
Yeah, taxpayer money. It's not an enormous amount of money, but I guarantee you every Jewish person tonight watching this in New Jersey is going, I don't want that guy to get a nickel. Right. And listen, hold McGreevey responsible for this. Yeah. He's the guy, and now we can't get rid of him. Right. Don't you think there should be a clause that says if you slander or you do something disgraceful, that we can get rid of you? Wouldn't that be the solution?
There are things that the First Amendment doesn't protect, such as libel, such as slander,
inciting a riot, disturbing the peace,
clear and present danger,
harassing.
So if any of those things are actionable, then action should be taken against Amiri Baraka. But once you appoint someone, you can't go around censoring them for everything they say.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make up your own mind. And Governor McGreevey is the guy who appointed this pinhead. And Professor, we appreciate your point of view and coming in. All right?
Thank you.
Directly ahead, another shocker. A congressman from Washington State says President Bush is lying about Iraq. And the guy says this in Baghdad. Is Jim McDermott a traitor? Right back.
I love to keep a clean club, but the boys get so rambunctious sometimes. Nice catch! Hence, my new Bissell Pro Heat Protect Beauty. It's the only one that thoroughly cleans and provides Scotch Guard protection all in one beautiful machine. Smoothies! Scotch Guard protection. It's cool.
Now clean and protect with Bissell.
It'll put any neatnik in hog heaven.
Bissell. We mean clean.
I heard it defies gravity.
I heard its brakes could stop a freight train.
I heard it can fly. You won't believe what people are saying about this car until you drive it. Test drive the BMW 7 Series at an authorized BMW center to see for yourself.
Acura of Salem, who can you turn to for the car of your dreams?
Jim Alfer, Valley Motors and Acura Salem, home of Salem's finest pre-owned vehicles. Mercedes SL, C-Class, E-Class, S-Class, and ML, Lincoln LS, and Town Car, Acura TL and CL. Come in and see how easy it is for you to drive one home today at Valley Motors and Acura Salem.
Acura of Salem.
Ireland gave us Riverdance. England produced Stomp. Now come the Americans with the Tony Award winner for Theatrical Event of the Year, the entertainment phenomenon, Blast. Blast is explosive entertainment, a non-stop mix of spectacle and sound. What a cast! What a blast! This show is a pure joy. Blast is breathtaking, a surefire hit.
October 1st through 6th at Keller Auditorium. Tickets are on sale now. Part of the Broadway in Portland series, welcomed by K103 and Delta Airlines.
In the personal story segment tonight, some Democratic congresspeople have recently visited Iraq, and one of them has caused a firestorm. Washington State Congressman Jim McDermott said this on the ABC News Sunday program.
I think the president would mislead the American people.
That's David Bonnier, congressman from Michigan, next to Mr. McDermott. And basically, McDermott said President Bush is lying to start a war. Does that border on treason, especially in a foreign capital? Joining us now from Seattle is Greg Rodriguez, the executive director of the King County Democratic Party. That's Seattle, Washington. I don't object to Mr. McDermott's dissent, but I do object to the fact that he gave aid and comfort to an enemy of the United States, Saddam Hussein. Am I wrong?
I don't think he's giving aid and comfort at all, and I think actually his comments have kind of been taken out of context. The party is actually, we had just held a Central Committee statewide meeting, and some of the biggest complaints was that some of our Democratic leaders have not been speaking up and have not been discussing this matter in a more full and in-depth way that we believe needs to be done before we send our children into war.
All right, that's fine. And nobody has any problem with dissent, whether it be right-wing or left-wing. I mean, we know that Dick Armey, he's a big Republican right-winger, doesn't want to do it.
Right.
But you don't go to Baghdad, Mr. Rodriguez, all right, and you don't say this kind of stuff that can be seized upon. If I'm misinterpreting it, and I don't believe I am, but even if I am, imagine what they're going to do with it in the Arab world, you know?
Well,
you got a sitting congressman basically calling the President of the United States a liar when we're fighting a war on terror. That is irresponsible at best and maybe treasonous at worst.
Bill, whether it was in Baghdad or whether it's in Washington State or in New York or in Washington, D.C., the Arab media or any other media can take any soundbite they like and use it to their advantage. Our media does it all the time. I think what the real issue here is that Congressman McDermott has actually gone over, is actually trying to do some diplomatic dialogue with the Iraqi leaders so that we actually address this problem and that we hopefully can solve it diplomatically.
Look, we have no problem with him going there, and he didn't, you know, by the way, he didn't visit any weapons plants or any military thing. He went to a water filtration system. He's being used. He's being used. That's okay. I would have gone to. If I got invited by Saddam Hussein to go over there, I'd go over there, okay? Yeah. But I would disrespect my president. You know, McDermott's an American here, Mr. Rodriguez.
I agree with you.
Come on, he disrespected President Bush, and we're fighting a war on terror, and it's an outrage.
Bill, I disagree with you because I think, again, the words are being taken out of context.
No,
and I think
they're not.
Actually,
they're not.
No, yes, they are.
I know. In what way? In what way
are
they being taken out of context?
Because Congressman McDermott is correct when he's saying that we've heard 4 or 5 different reasons in the last 4 or 5 months why we are attempting to do this first strike, unilateral attack.
All right, maybe there are 4 or 5 different reasons. Look, let's make it easy, Mr. Rodriguez. You give me one fact where the President of the United States has misled the American public on Iraq. Give me one. Fact.
Well, I'll actually just use the story of the al-Qaeda. Originally, that was the tie, and that was the excuse to go into Iraq, was that they had ties to al-Qaeda. When that evidence or CIA intelligence was found to be not so credible, then it was to weapons of mass destruction. Then it was to regime change. Now it's back to the al-Qaeda link.
All right, but are you saying that Saddam Hussein has no link to al-Qaeda? Are you saying that?
I'm not saying that at all.
Is Congressman McDermott saying that?
We do not have the empirical proof yet that that is true.
That's fine.
We have far more countries that have
You just made my point, Mr. Rodriguez. You just made my point. Well, you can say you want more proof. You can say that you're not convinced. And all of that I'll respect. But you can't say, as Congressman McDermott did, the president has misled the American people on Iraq unless you have proof of that, and he doesn't, and neither do you.
He didn't say specifically that he is misleading. He says he could possibly be misleading the American public.
No, he didn't say possibly. We have the clip. He just rolled the clip. He said he is misleading.
But if you interpret the full context of the conversation and what McDermott is trying to say.
All right, let me read you the full context, okay? Listen, and then I believe, this is McDermott, I believe that sometimes the Bush administration gives out misinformation. Okay? Now, I want to know what the misinformation is. He didn't say. It would not surprise me if the Bush administration came up with some information that is not provable, and they've shifted. First, they said it was al-Qaeda. Then they said it was weapons of mass destruction, just like you're saying. Now they're going back and saying it's al-Qaeda again. My submit to you that it's okay to have an opinion, but not to say the President of the United States is misleading the American public, as McDermott did. He ought to apologize, because this is helping Saddam Hussein, an avowed enemy of the United States.
I don't feel it's helping him at all, and I don't feel that we as Americans or Congressman McDermott should crawl under any kind of cover and hide from saying what he truly feels. It shows more patriotism to stand up and to challenge what we see, especially as a Democratic Party in the real grassroots level, as a rush to judgment.
So
this is extremely a rush to judgment.
You think that that McDermott is a patriot because he goes to Baghdad, the capital city of our enemy, that he comes out of there and says, I believe the President of the United States, currently fighting a war on terror, is misleading the American public without any proof of that at all, none.
I'm saying
you can't provide any, he can't provide any. You think that he's being patriotic doing that. I'm
saying that Congressman McDermott is a patriot for actually keeping the discussion open, for actually pursuing some diplomatic solutions to this problem instead of rushing to judgment. And I think what's happened here is that there was one little soundbite, and instead of the Arab media taking it completely out of context, it's the American media.
I didn't
now
take it out of context. I told you exactly what he said.
I understand what the exact words are, but what I'm trying to do is explain to you
words are words. If he has,
but the American public is
Mr.
not.
Ryder, let me submit this to you. You tell McDermott to come on here and tell us what he meant, and I'll put him on. We appreciate your point of view, sir. Thanks very much.
Bill.
Plenty more ahead as a factor moves along this evening. 2 Connecticut doctors arrested for failing to disclose an 11-year-old's pregnancy. It's an unbelievable story. We'll have it for you next.
About financial relationships. You have to reach out to make them work. They're most valuable when faced with the unexpected. Wisdom is everywhere. Uncommon wisdom is knowing how to apply it. Wachovia Securities.
Your doctor probably never sees you when you feel like this. This is usually who your doctor sees. That deeply depressed you who barely dragged yourself in for treatment. That's why so many people with bipolar disorder are being treated for depression and not getting any better. Because depression is only half the story. That fast-talking, energetic, quick-tempered, overdoing it up all night you probably never shows up in the doctor's office, right? Log on to bipolarawareness.com, sponsored by Lilly, on WebMD, the place for healthcare answers. Take the test you can take to your doctor. It can change your life. Let your doctor in on it. In order to make a correct diagnosis, your doctor has to know about your ups as well as your downs. Getting a correct diagnosis is the first step in treating bipolar disorder. Help your doctor help you.
You Decide 2002. Fox News Team Washington. Investigating, uncovering, getting to the core of the issues. It's politics clarified. Get the facts fairly. The issues balanced. You Decide 2002. Trust Team Washington, your source for fair and balanced election coverage. You Decide 2002. Only on Fox News Channel. Tomorrow, he's handsome, rich, and very single, but he's vowed to tie the knot with one of these eligible ladies. Get the rice ready. We talk to The Bachelor tomorrow on Fox News Live.
In the Unresolved Problem segment tonight, doctors versus the law. 2 Connecticut doctors examined an 11-year-old girl, found her to be pregnant, but did not report the situation to authorities. Remember, she's 11. Turns out a 75-year-old man has been charged with sexually assaulting this girl, and the doctors have been charged with failing to report suspected child abuse and neglect. With us now is Robert Meehan, the attorney representing Dr. Mukesh Shah, who, along with Dr. Ann Lewell, is in big trouble. All right. Doesn't look good for your client. What say you, counselor?
Well, I can tell you this. First of all,
The fact that an 11-year-old is impregnated by a 75-year-old man is an egregious situation, but that's not what this case is about, Bill. This case is a prosecution of these doctors for failing to report this circumstance to Connecticut's Department of Children and Families. There is a law in Connecticut that requires a mandated reporter, and my doctor is a mandated reporter, to report suspected child abuse by either the child's caretaker or one who gains access to the child through the caretaker. In this circumstance, this young child comes to the pediatrician's office that she had been a client of their practice. She's examined. She has some vague abdominal complaints, has some vague history with respect to infrequent menstruation because she had reached puberty at an early age, and they suspect pregnancy. So they send her for a pregnancy test. Call the next day, the mom hasn't taken her for the pregnancy test. They call the mom and insist that the mom takes the girl for the pregnancy test. It comes back positive. The day before, when the child was first in, Dr. Shah talked to this child and the mother at length. Never once did they report to him that the child had had any sexual involvement or any sexual activity. Now, on day 2, when they come back in with the positive results, Dr. Shah has Dr. Lully, who is a woman, sit with the child and talk to the child and ask the good touch, bad touch types of questions to determine, has this child been sexually abused? Again, the child stood mute.
She's pregnant.
She's obviously, at this point in time, there is a strong belief that she's pregnant. What you don't know, let me finish. What you don't know is that there are 10 instances of false positives on these pregnancy tests. And what Dr. Shah did is what any reasonable practitioner would do under the circumstance. He referred the child to an OBGYN clinic for a follow-up evaluation. Now, he's been charged under a law that says if you're a mandated reporter, you have to report suspected abuse. There's another provision in that law that says if you falsely report an incident, you're subject to 1-year jail penalty. So we maintain that what the doctor did was reasonable in the circumstances.
And this is why you're going to lose, counsel, with all due respect. All right? Any 11-year-old girl coming in with a positive pregnancy immediately has to be reported in every state to the authorities, not to the OBGYN, to the authorities, because you basically cannot have an 11-year-old unsupervised being impregnated by anybody, all right, because that's access through the caregiver, as you said, all right? The law says child abuse or sexual abuse through the caregiver, access. An 11-year-old has to be supervised, and if not, it's child neglect. So your client and the woman doctor had a duty to say, look, we don't know what's going on here, but we suspect there's a strong probability that child abuse or neglect is taking place. Here it is, covering their butts. They didn't do it. They're going to get convicted.
Well, I disagree with you. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you, Bill. Because what you don't factor in the mix here is client confidentiality.
Oh, baloney.
No, not baloney.
Baloney.
Let's talk about this. In point of fact, in Connecticut, doctors can provide abortion counseling services to underage people under 18.
Abortion counseling has nothing to do with
HIV
this.
Treatment to people under the age of 18. And the law we're talking about here, by the way...
This is an 11-year-old
I understand,
girl.
but we're talking about a law that doesn't distinguish between an 11-year-old and a 17-year-old. And we're talking about an obligation to report to Connecticut's Department of Children and Families. What you need to realize is that this law has just been changed by the legislature, and during the legislative histories, Commissioner Regalia, the Commissioner of the Department of Children and Families, talked about this very type of situation.
What you're going to do is you're going to put the law on trial, and I'd do it. If I were you, I'd do the same thing. I'd put the law on trial. But the jury, this goes to a jury, and I don't think you'll plea it out, I think. They're going to say no go. As a human being, compassionate doctors have this responsibility. We appreciate it, counsel. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Bill.
When we come back, the movie Barbershop, big hit, but contains some jokes that Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and others are objecting to. We will talk with Reverend Sharpton and hear the other side as well in just a few minutes as The Factor continues for you.
The torch is out. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. And with just 5 weeks to go before the election, New Jersey Democratic Senator Robert Torricelli is giving up his re-election bid. Torricelli was trailing badly in the polls after allegations that he accepted expensive gifts from a campaign contributor. Democrats say they'll have a new candidate within 2 days, but Republicans say they'll fight any efforts to replace Torricelli on the ballot at this late date. Latest on Iraq for you. UN and Iraqi officials are meeting in Austria for a second day to discuss weapons inspections. Among the issues, exactly what unfettered access to suspected weapon sites actually means. In the Senate, the latest draft of a new bipartisan resolution authorizing military action against Iraq may not please the White House because it requires allowing the UN to exhaust its compliance efforts before the president can use force. If you don't believe Iraq is a threat to our forces, check out this newly released Pentagon video. The Pentagon says Iraq regularly fires at no-fly zone patrols. Well, Hurricane Lily is on the move, albeit slowly. It's due to hit western Cuba tomorrow and possibly the U.S. Gulf Coast by the end of the week. Lily's blamed for 4 deaths in Jamaica and 4 in St. Vincent. It's now bringing trouble to the Cayman Islands. Next update at the top of the hour. I'm Donna Fiducia. The O'Reilly Factor continues next on Fox.
Hi, I'm John Scheer, CEO and founder of Video Professor. You know, after teaching people how to operate their computers for over 15 years now, I'm amazed that there are still people that don't have computer skills, like Windows, word processing, the internet, and email. If you're looking for that new job, or maybe it's just balancing your budget, or even helping your kids with homework, these aren't handy skills to have, these are essential. If you're having trouble learning the computer, I'm going to help you out with a free learning lesson of your choice from Video Professor. Let me show you how simple this is. You put the CD in your CD drive. The lesson plays right on your computer screen. Just follow the step-by-step instructions that guide you through learning the software. The lesson always stays on top of the program you're learning. You see what to do, then just do it yourself. You can't make a mistake because you see the results right in front of you. You can pause or rewind the lesson to move at your own pace. The CD is like having your own personal tutor. It's always there for you to learn or review whenever and wherever it's convenient. You know, the best part about this offer, this is free. Now, it's important for you to know the reason why I'm doing this. That's because I know that once you try our product, you'll come back to us for all your computer learning needs. These lessons are jam-packed. They're over an hour in length. We've been doing this for over 15 years, and we have over 4 million customers. You just pay a small shipping and handling, and I'll even refund that if you're not satisfied with my product. It's free, the risk is free, so what do you got to lose? Try my product.
Call Video Professor now for your free lesson. Choose from Windows, Word, Quicken, the Internet, and many more. Call in the next 10 minutes, and this free gift will be yours. The Anytime Organizer is the calendar, diary, address book, and journal on your PC, so you'll never miss an appointment again. Remember, you must call now to get your free CD and the extra free gift.
To get your free computer learning CD, you must call now. Call 1-800-514-1436.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the second personal story segment tonight, some African Americans are offended at some of the jokes in a movie called Barbershop. The film stars Ice Cube, one of my personal favorites, and is a big hit, but not with some of its critics. Here is one of the offending scenes.
What I'm saying is that black people need to stop lying.
Say something.
There's 3 things that black people need to tell the truth about.
What?
One, Rodney King should have got a beat for driving drunk and being grown in a Hyundai. 2, OJ did it. And 3, Rosa Parks ain't do nothing but sit her black down. That's right. I said it.
Hey, I'm gonna back you up on that, cause see, look, he was on the bus back in the day, and he on the bus now.
Eddie, not only is what you're saying not true, it is wrong and disrespectful for you to discuss Rosa Parks in that way.
Exactly. Wait. Hold on here. Is this the barbershop? Is this the barbershop?
Yes, it is.
It's the barbershop. I mean, we can't talk straight in the barbershop. Then where can we talk straight? We can't talk straight nowhere else.
All right. With us now is Reverend Al Sharpton, the author of a brand new book called Al on America. Look at that pose. Look at that chin, ladies and gentlemen. And from Los Angeles, syndicated columnist Dr. Earl Afari Hutchinson, the author of the new book, The Crisis in Black and Black. All right, Reverend, you don't like this movie?
I think that the lines where Martin Luther King is called a whore and Rosa Parks is referred to, I think is offensive. I think they have the right to tell the jokes. They have the right to say what they want. I have the right to say I'm offended and say that they won't do it at my expense. I think 2 things that are troubling. One, if you say this is how we talk at a barbershop, it's interesting to me that they only talk about black leaders and black figures. I don't know any barbershop in a black community in this country that you wouldn't also discuss whites that are in political life. So I don't understand the storyline. But I remember a very good friend of mine, best friend of mine, reminded me many years ago, not that many years ago, in Washington, D.C., a disc jockey who was white was fired for joking about Martin Luther King.
Oh, you couldn't do it.
And we protested about that.
How
could we have protested a white disc jockey and then turn around and say it's all right for black
That's an interesting point. But if Tom Cruise had said that stuff, I mean, all hell would have broken.
And I would have said the same thing. So at least I'm being consistent.
Yeah, for once in your life, right, Reverend?
No, often in my life. Once you may give me credit.
Only kidding. Now, before we get to Dr. Hutchison, who feels a little bit different about it, do you feel that a comedy like this, and you know, that's Cedric the Entertainer, and these guys, I mean, they're just trying to make money. Do you think that does any damage? Do you think it's an issue that we should be taking seriously?
Well, first of all, it was a #1 movie. It did drop 21 points percent this week, so a lot of people are beginning, I think, to not go for whatever reasons. But I think that we have a right to say it.
Sure you
if
do.
We're going to spend
But
our
is it
money.
an important issue?
I don't think in the scale of things that we're doing, no. But if we're asked about it as we have, and we wrote a letter to MGM, I think it was important enough to raise.
All right.
It's like you talking about ludicrous. I mean, how important was that?
It was important to send a message to
I think
corporate
Martin Luther
America.
King is a lot more important to me than ludicrous is to America.
Okay. Doctor, what do you say?
No, I think Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, their stature in history is very secure. I don't think one movie is going to damage that. I don't think a silly, inane remark, a throwaway remark by Cedric the Entertainer in this movie is going to damage King and Parks' legacy. You know, it's a movie. I took it for that, and if you listen very carefully, you notice one thing. The audience in barbershop, those in barbershop, right away didn't let Cedric get away with it. They challenged the guy. One got in his face and said, you cannot disrespect that. And interestingly enough, Bill, just to test the reaction, I went to an all-black theater, the Magic Johnson Theater in Los Angeles. I wanted to hear with the audience how they responded. And I got to tell you, I cringed on the line about Dr. Martin Luther King, but I have to tell you, when the audience heard that, it was a collective gasp, and also a gasp in the barbershop, too. So that told me right away, nobody's finding any humor in this. Nobody's seeing any disrespect here because they understood intuitively that this is nothing but comedy.
But doctor,
this is a joke. This is a parody.
All right, but if
this
it
is a
isn't
lampoon
funny,
and nothing more.
If it isn't funny, and it wasn't, and it is offensive to some people, you've got to wonder why they would do it. What was the point? And the other point that some people are bringing out is that Dr. Martin Luther King, all right, for all his greatness, did have a fondness for women. And they're exploiting that fondness for women. Now, are people, black or white, Americans, wrong in satirizing a Dr. King, as they do with JFK and Bill Clinton, for his fondness for women?
Well, no, and I'll tell you something. I would even go beyond the fondness for women. The fact is that it has been said many times about Dr. King and quote-unquote philandering. But even when that came up, and also plagiarism, too, it does not detract in any way, shape, or form from Dr. King's monumental contribution that he made to history. I mean, no one is going to say because Dr. King may have had an affair, Dr. King may have done some other human things, that this makes him any less of a man or discredits his accomplishments. And, Bill, I got to tell you something else. And, Reverend Al, you know this, too. Winston Churchill has been lionized as a great statesman. The Pope, Jesus Christ, presidents on down the line, but they've all been satirized. They've been parodied. They've been lampooned
And
too.
people have protested.
But Reverend, their place in history is still secure. But their place in history is still secure. And just one other quick point, Reverend Al, you did mention about the barbershop. I would expect to go into a black barbershop in South Central Los Angeles, in Harlem, or the South Side of Chicago, and I would expect most of the conversation to, in fact, center on blacks. Black leaders, black events, black communities.
I totally disagree.
All right, but I want to let me ask you a question.
Have been across the board.
I don't care what they're discussing in black barbershops. All right, it's probably the same inanities that they're discussing in white barbershops.
Absolutely,
just nonsense. But there is a very important point here that the doctor points out, that there isn't any lasting damage to Rosa Parks or Dr. Martin Luther King, and that if you basically make a big deal out of it, number one, you draw more attention to it because not many people are going to see this, and number two, as you admitted, it's not a big deal.
Well, no, what I've said is, first of all, that it's about being consistent. The disc jockey in Washington could have said that. that everybody knew I was just selling a joke. He said Martin Luther King died. We have a holiday today. If you kill 4 more blacks, we can take the week off. He could have said the same thing. That was not acceptable because we cannot say that we are going to support people that disrespect us. I can't have one standard for a disc jockey in Washington, D.C. and another for Cedric the Entertainer.
But isn't it true that when a majority, whites in America, put a hammer down on a minority, whether it's blacks or Native Americans or Hispanic or whatever, it becomes a much more volatile situation than when the minority makes fun of itself.
But if you're going to deal with a moral consistency, and when you're going to deal with, as you pointed out, that when this was an attempt to depict Dr. King in this way anyway, this was what Mr. Hoover tried to do, J. Edgar Hoover, with humor.
But in a serious way. You know, Hoover was
tried to do it serious.
Yeah,
but if you get people laughing about it, especially people from a new generation, listen to what they said. They said everyone in the barbershop objected. And his response is, but we've got to be real about this is the truth. And that was the closing line. Like, he answered the critics like this is truth.
Let me give the doctor the last word. Now, doctor, we only have 30 seconds.
All right. No,
and I got a question because it's important.
First of all, it wasn't the truth, and nobody accepted that.
All right, I don't believe that.
I don't know that.
I don't believe that people are.
No,
I don't know that.
Yeah, but
Cedric,
let me put an argument into this argument. Rosa Parks is safe. But in the movie theater that you saw, did people like this movie?
You know what? It wasn't so much that people liked it. What it was, people reacted to it. They saw the humor in it, but they also were able to discriminate between an inane remark by one person in a barbershop who's clearly it was his opinion, as opposed to being representative of everything that black folk thought. That was ridiculous. It was stupid.
And there was one good thing that came out of the movie that O.J. did do it. Hey, Reverend, Doctor,
that's
thanks very much.
how serious people take it.
All
Thank
right.
you, Bill.
All right.
That's how serious people take it.
O.J. did it.
But they objected to that, too.
And Bill validates my point.
Our man inside the Barbra Streisand fundraiser. We got a secret mole in there. An on-the-spot report in just a few moments.
My seats are a mess. Gum, markers, sticky spray. Have you seen this spray that flies through the air and adheres to anything? Some kind of goo. I don't know what it is either, but it isn't pretty. So I'm a mess on the inside. But my engine is clean because I use Chevron with Techron.
No gasoline cleans your engine better than Chevron with Techron. Chevron.
Working with kids is my calling, and I enjoy it.
The new 105.9, The River. First class rock.
This one goes out to the one I love. I love you for your pink Cadillac, rose velvet seats. 'Cause I'm already gone.
The new 105.9, The River. First class rock.
We asked our team of comedy writers to come up with something clever and hilarious. They had several ideas, not one of which was the least bit clever or hilarious. So we've decided to leave the comedy to the professionals, like Drew Carey, Home Improvement, Seinfeld, and Friends, and focus on other things, like hiring new writers. The non-stop comedy block on TBS Superstation.
Jumping out of planes and rolling out of boats. Being a SEAL is something I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid.
Through the training, you learn to be a lot more driven and focused.
Well, without the Navy, I wouldn't have had money for college.
The Navy has many educational opportunities. I could do anything electrical out in the civilian world.
What you've seen is just part of the story. Call this number now for your free 12-minute video and see what Navy life is really like. Check out the jobs, training, and money for college that are waiting for you. Navy, let the journey begin.
In the back of the book segment tonight, our pal Barbara Streisand, big Factor fan we hear, sponsored a big Democratic fundraiser last night in L.A. She sang like butter and raised $5 million for her favorite party. Our man in L.A., Adam Housley, is on the scene, joins us now with an eyewitness report. All right, Adam, take us there. What happened?
Well, it was very lavish, Bill, as you might imagine, at the Kodak Theater in downtown Hollywood, the heart of Hollywood. And this year alone, the Democrats have raised about $25 million through the Hollywood forces. And last night was no different. We were not allowed inside. None of the media was allowed inside. There was actually a video feed to a loading dock outside the theater. That's where we hung out, got to watch the entire performance. But there was a man standing next to the TV with basically the magical finger who pushed a button and allowed us to have little snippets of various parts of the event, and that was it. And the Streisand part, we got nothing on video at all. We're hearing we might get video later on this evening. We don't even know. She actually looked at it and decided that last night she wasn't going to release any of it, so she basically censored herself, Bill.
All right, so who was there? I mean, there weren't a lot of stars there. Barry Manilow was there, right?
Right. Barry Manilow was there. Barbara Streisand, the three Mo tenors were there. Steve Harvey was the MC, and he seemed a bit uncomfortable, to be quite honest with you. He made some comments throughout the night about how he didn't really fit in. There was only 3 or 4 African Americans in the audience. He made that comment a couple of times. And, of course, the money, some people doled out $250,000 just for one seat at this event. As for the names you talked about, most of them didn't show up, but the people that put their name on the press release as being involved are big names. We're talking Jack Nicholson, Martin Sheen, Ben Affleck, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Sally Field, Michael
But none of them showed up. Only Christian Slater showed up. I'm surprised he's out of jail. Didn't he have some gun thing on a plane or something? And Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Those are the only 2 that we have that were famous. Now, Barbara Streisand, she a big anti-war person, right? And that's making some Democrats pretty nervous because they're going to pass that resolution in D.C. But Barbara's going nuts, huh?
She went crazy. In fact, a lot of the media here in Los Angeles openly said out on that loading dock that they were Democrats. And one man even turned to everyone else and said, you know what? I'm a Democrat. This is embarrassing. I mean, she was pretty vicious, Bill. She came out. She changed the words of her favorite song that many people know as Memories, but it, of course, has different titles, you can call it. But she called it Miseries, basically, and blamed everything in the last 7 or 8 years on Republicans being in control of Congress. And, of course, Dick Gephardt and the few that were there from the California Congressional Caucus that were there were very happy to hear that.
Okay, now did she at one point say this is a battle between good and evil? The Democrats are good and the Bush White House is evil? Did she actually say that?
In so many words. In fact, I brought my notes in with me, Bill, to talk to you about from last night that I was sitting there listening. She called Bush, Cheney, Ashcroft, and Rumsfeld frightening. She says, I hate to say it, but they're frightening. I mean, she was pretty vicious. It was one of her more serious attacks that I've heard her in recent years. And last night she says it's very important, of course, they take back the House and they want to raise as much money as they can to help do that. And that was what that concert was for last night.
Okay.
And
did she dedicate a song to Senator Torricelli or anything like that? Yes.
No, she didn't dedicate it.
Little Democratic
humor there.
Yeah, a little Democratic humor. Gee, I'd love to interview Barbara Streisand. I really want to find out why Hillary banned her from the White House. That would be number 1 question.
Well, we tried to get her, Bill, and she wouldn't talk to us. Fortunately, the Speaker of the House, Dick Gephardt, spoke to us, and then he toned things down. He toned things down.
He won't
when we
talk
talked to him outside.
What did Gephardt have to say?
Well, what he said at the event was that he works in a nut house, and he called the leadership the most intolerant, the Republican leadership in the House, the most intolerant and radical he's ever dealt with. Now, then when we talked to him outside, he was very toned down. He says, well, you know, I didn't really necessarily mean that. He didn't put it in those words.
Yeah.
He was very
Well, they're
very
in a tough
down.
spot. I mean, look, with patriotism running high, 66% of Americans feel Saddam Hussein should be out of there. I'm going to say something nice about Barbara Streisand, though, as much as I feel that her opinions are shallow and she doesn't put up with any dissent. I mean, talk about somebody who's frightening in that regard. She does believe this stuff. She is sincere, and she is active and trying to use the system to promote what she feels is best for America, and I respect that. I do. And she puts her mouth where the money is. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
She definitely is not afraid. You got to give her respect for that, Bill. She'll come out and say what she feels. Though she did wear some mighty nice diamonds last night around her neck. I mean, those things alone. I hope we get video of this because those diamonds were worth some serious bucks.
Well, maybe she should give that to the Torricelli
They need it.
Or what used to be. Hey, Adam, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next, we'll wrap things up. The most ridiculous item of the day and some of your mail.
world's first reconfigurable luxury SUV. Cadillac Escalade EXT. Breakthrough.
Ah, Guido, come hanno ragione. E viva Jacqueline che ci ha indicato la via della liberazione. Abbassa il tiranno, abbassa Barba Blu.
What can a foreign film teach us about capital markets? They're not for everybody. It helps to speak the language. Wisdom is everywhere. Uncommon wisdom is knowing how to apply it. Wachovia Securities.
People always wonder how we really feel about each other.
No, we don't hate each other.
Sean is a conservative. I'm a liberal.
Alan is a great guy.
You can agree to disagree and disagree without being disagreeable.
He's just wrong.
I certainly have my point of view. Sean has his.
And the reason I know he's good at his job is because he gets under my skin.
Our job is to find unique perspectives, unique angles.
It's my job in life to turn him around, to Hannitize him.
The Hannity and Combs Show is a perfect example of how a democracy works.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. Now, we don't want to be mean, but things are getting a little intense over at our competitor, MSNBC. TV Guide has an article this week saying that there are big ratings problems over there. And according to U.S. News & World Report, Chris Matthews said this about Phil Donahue. Ready? He focuses too much on what's wrong with America. If Donahue stays on the air, he could bring down the network. Wow! Now, we don't believe everything we read, but things may be getting a little ridiculous at MSNBC. You know, if Combs ever said that about me, like that. And finally tonight, the Mail, a slew of it over the weekend. Thank you very much. Amy Fisher, Boca Raton, Florida. O'Reilly, I read your latest column about how the Arab world fosters anti-Semitism, and it touched my heart. Your article really made me understand the enormity of bigotry around the world. Well, I appreciate the kind words, Ms. Fisher. That column can be accessed off our website. About the SUV controversy, Phil Matheson, Maryville, Tennessee. I drive a Yukon, and I love it. By what reason can you, O'Reilly, or anyone tell me I can't drive it? Certainly, I would never tell anyone what they can or cannot drive, Mr. Matheson, but the government has a right to mandate clean air and fuel components in the interest of national security. Andrew Dixon, Omaha, Nebraska. I work in an auto collision shop, and to say that SUVs are safer than cars is outrageous and untrue. Americans are getting badly hurt in many cases because the vehicles are so big. Tony Castagna, Beaufort, South Carolina. Big, bad SUVs, ban them. Big, bad Bill O'Reilly, ban him. Are you connecting the dots? Well, I will be very angry if that happens, Mr. Castagna. Scott Jeffries, Miami, Florida. Mr. Bill, since you called for a boycott of Pepsi over the ludicrous situation, why don't you call for a boycott of Amazon.com? Because they are selling that book about molesting little boys. Guess it's because they sell your books there. Did it ever occur to you, Mr. Jeffries, that if I were motivated by selfishness, I wouldn't have done the story in the first place? By the way, I did not call for a boycott of Pepsi. I just said I wouldn't drink it, but now the company has done the right thing. All is well. Elmo Love, Hollywood, Florida. Amazon also sells Mein Kampf and the Anarchist Cookbook. Maybe your beloved angry viewers can put a stop to that too, O'Reilly. Well, Mr. Love Factor viewers aren't angry. They're smart. They know the difference between whacked-out philosophy and encouraging child rape. Carmela D'Oria, Middletown, Delaware. I will no longer do business with Amazon. Well, many viewers feel as you do, Carmela, but Amazon's holding fast, still selling that book. Brian Franz, Bartlett, Illinois. O'Reilly, the fact that you were outraged by teen drinking at Scarsdale High School just goes to show how out of touch you really are. And the fact that you are not outraged when 1/4 of the student population shows up drunk at a dance shows just how libertine you are, Mr. Franz. Dr. John Stiglmeyer, Slingerlands, New York. Mr. O'Reilly, the administration of Scarsdale High is responsible only to the residents of the school district. You used the word cowardly too easily. Well, I disagree, Doctor. Those people are educators. They had a well-publicized scandal at their school. They owe the nation an explanation. Bill Schmidt, Howell, New Jersey. O'Reilly, you should interview Lori Dew at least once a week. Any particular subject there, Mr. Howell? Take a cold shower, okay? And then go to the website when you cool down. www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. And my column that was mentioned about anti-Semitism and how it's driving anti-American feeling in worldnetdaily.com can be accessed off our website. Also, Factor Gear, getting into that little holiday season now. If you want the really good stuff, you got to get on there quickly. How about emailing us with some pithy comments? O'Reilly at foxnews.com, O'Reilly at foxnews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. That is it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor, Radio Factor every day, Westwood One, coast to coast. And coming up on Hannity and Calls, I don't know, but I know it's going to be good. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Hope to see you again next time. And remember, the spin stops here.
Next on Special Report, Democratic Senator Torricelli of New Jersey suddenly pulled out of his race for re-election, brought down by a corruption scandal and sinking poll numbers. The move throws that race